Hi, everyone. I want to introduce you to tilting assignments using TiltBot with Zeenar Salim. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah,
Why don't you tell us
it's
how you say your name?
it's Zeenar and
Zeenar
Salim. Yeah,
Salim. Okay.
yeah.
And she is the Assistant Director for Instructional Development at the Center for Teaching and Learning at University of Georgia, where she leads instructional programs for faculty. And I'll let you read the rest of her bio, but I'm very happy that she is here with us, sharing her knowledge. I really appreciate it. Um, for those of you who maybe just entered, I have a little post survey if I'll just put the link in again. And then I'll also be putting in the handout for the rest of the workshops for this semester. I'll have two of them. One is by date and one is by the type of workshop it is. And with that, I'm going to unshare and I will go ahead and leave it to you. And here you go. Now we see your screen.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And I would also request all of you to like post do the post survey so that I also get feedback. And Tori, if you can compile and share with me whatever the feedback is, I'll be very happy to read that. Um, we'll start with the overall framework, and then we'll do a deep dive into the bot. Bot was created by me, so it is full of faults like me. So, but whatever it does, we will talk about why is it doing the way it is doing. Um, okay. So we'll start with the learning outcomes. There are three main learning outcomes for this little workshop. One is we'll review the research on TILT framework and its utility in designing assignments. Then we'll analyze a couple of assignments. If you brought your own assignment, you can use that. Or if you have not brought an assignment, I have a folder from which you can draw an assignment and reflect on that. And then we will reflect on the changes that we can make to improve the given assignment. Basically, you can reflect on the changes that you would make and then reflect on the changes that bot is suggesting, and then say, hey, like these are the changes I would agree with, these are changes that I would not agree with. The whole idea of engaging with AI is to bring that human element there and be the center, so that like even if AI is saying revise it in this way, you being an expert of your own discipline would be able to adjust whatever AI spits out. Um, okay. So, what is TILT? TILT is a transparency in teaching and learning framework, which um, promotes transparency by asking instructors to describe um, a couple of things for the students and make it very clear. What are students learning from the course? So by looking at the assignment, students should be able to know like what they're learning, how will they learn it, and then why are they learning these things and in particular ways? Why is it organized in particular ways? And then how will students use this learning during their lives in college and after college? So the emphasis is on the practical application. A philosopher might argue that, like, okay, why do we focus on practicality of the knowledge? Knowledge is, on its own is important to seek and gain. Um, and one might say, okay, after the college, people would get like whoever is doing this particular assignment in this particular course might get thinking tools to think better. It's not only practical skills, like they will be able to solve a math problem, but also think in different ways from different perspectives. So it's the way you tilt the practical aspect of learning any skill or knowledge in the college. Um, so the whole idea is being transparent so that the students know what they're learning, why they're learning, how is their learning organized, why is it organized in a particular way, and how would it help them learn, and how will they use it in their future lives. This framework has some evidence base. This framework was initially worked out by Mary Wilkemus, and she did a study on multiple institutions and found out that this using this framework, faculty members were able to improve their assignments by improving their assignments, I mean improve the transparency in their assignments. And that resulted in perceived skill development. And one might question, like, why is perceived skill important, right? Perceived skill is important because if your student is perceiving that I'm improving my skill over the time, they also have greater academic confidence to succeed and less likely to drop out from the college. So these assignments, the way they are structured, they also gives out the purpose very transparently, that this is the purpose and this is how would you use it in your job life or professional life. And that also creates academic confidence and how they would use this skill in their future academic or professional lives. The TILT framework also creates a sense of belonging between the instructor and the students, because the instructor and the students can have a common language, um, a shared language of why they are learning what they are learning, and also understand the purpose and the rationale that experts as instructors as experts might not explain otherwise. So this framework pushes them to explain. So what are the key underpinnings of this framework? Three things really: purpose, task, and criteria. So the organization of any assignment in any course can be organized in these three elements. So first, you define the purpose, you define the learning outcomes that this particular assignment will help develop people to achieve, and then build the relevance of that assignment to the current assignment in the course and beyond the course, right? So, for example, Chem 101 course, right? And there's an assignment of solving certain equations. A faculty might give like 5 equations in a quiz and ask them to solve, or in a quiz or in a survey type questionnaire, and ask students to solve it without sharing how these 5 equations would help students, where would they help students, and why is it important to develop the skill of solving these 5 equations or these types of equations, right? So building in the purpose baked into the assignment design helps students get clarity of why they are doing what they are doing. Tasks. So tasks as 5 equations could be the task that the students are doing. Assignment must also explain how the student should go and do this task. Like, what is the resource that they should refer to? What are the learning materials that they should access before building that skill to like solve those 5 equations, for example? And then there is a debate on this one. So they can specify the assignments can specify the mistakes that students would make, so that students avoid it. But some other scholars have also pitched the point that if they make the mistake that is required, they will learn from their mistakes. So we need to have a feedback loop so that the students make mistakes, we see them making mistakes, have them give feedback immediately so that they improve on their mistakes, rather than telling them, okay, don't go there or don't go here, right? Like, so if you're solving 5 equations again, coming back to the example, if you tell them very specifically that, for example, don't use numbers next to, if you're solving a math equation, say, so if you're saying don't use substitution method or don't use this particular method, you are stopping students to try that creativity and leverage that creativity to do that and get wrong and come back and say, hey, this method doesn't suit this one, right? So there is a debate on that, of whether you want to limit that creativity or you want them to make mistakes and learn from it, and how many mistakes and what kind of mistakes. So what is the boundary wall that you want to place around? So these are the two big elements: purpose, task, and the third big element is criteria. What does finished product looks like? If an equation is solved, how does it look like, right? You provide multiple examples, and multiple examples have said to improve students' understanding of what the finished product would be and help students in reaching to that finished product. It also helps students to see, like, okay, in real world, if this skill is gained, what will I be able to do, right? also in the real world. So it could be example from like assignment, another student assignment, or it could be an example from real world work. I'll give you an example. So if you're teaching something like drama to students, to undergraduate students, you could either show the video from the previous cohort's drama performance, or you can take them to the theater and let them observe that. The idea is not to just leave it at that. The idea is to build a criteria and ask students to use that same criteria on the student performance, on the expert performance or community members' performance of a drama theater, and then use it for their self and their peers. So using the criteria also helps them notice what are the key things that I should not do or should do as a result of, in order to make like this product or project successful. I think enough of talking here. I would let you ask any questions about the framework that you might have.
How
No questions?
granular would you suggest when you're talking about define what actions students should take? How granular or disaggregated would you recommend those tasks be?
And I think I would see the context and decide accordingly, but this framework proposes that you go as granular as you could, right? So that students have full knowledge of what is expected of them. But I can see a philosophy professor, for example, arguing, I don't want to go that granular because I don't think that's the purpose of this assignment. It's to make them think. They can pick any issue and think about it and present their arguments, right? But like presenting their arguments, I think he can like they can still go granular to the level like what does presentation of argument looks like and what are the key components. I think the more granular you go, the more explicit and transparent you become in explaining the requirements, but there could be a limit to the creativity that students might apply if you are like, okay, write introduction, which has like 3 sentences, and then write the purpose statements, which has 2 sentences, and delineate the purpose by stating the purpose of this is, right? So you could go that granular, but it might limit the creativity. So I would leave it to the instructor to decide how granular they want to go, but I think there has to be some specificity that this framework is requiring instructors to have in their design of the assignment.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so I teach psychology, and so I think I'm more like that philosophy example you use, where it's like, my job isn't to teach them basic English, right? But I'm thinking of a course assignment where, there's writing involved, and I'm trying to think, okay, I don't expect them to be experts in English, but they should be using good English, and like trying to figure out how I can granularize the assignment without just doing it for them. Because my experience is that if I give students a formula, that's the formula they use. They don't get creative. Like they're not really coming up with a new application. They're like, oh, this is the formula that she wants. I want an A, so I'm going to use this formula.
Yeah, and experts have also suggested that you could scaffold it. So in the first assignment, you might go granular, and then the second assignment, you might leave that kind of support. Slowly, gradually, you take that support off and see how they're becoming creative, because once they have learned the basics of it, they might be able to be more creative in how they write the assignments. At least they would know that, hey, like I need to have like these 4 elements in my assignment. And it's also important to speak to all students, right? Your top 5 students might get creative, and like in terms of whom you are scoring as top 5 might get creative, but whom you are scoring as bottom 5 might need more support and structure. So I think you're right, like it depends on A, the course, and B, who are your students, where are they at, and what kind of support and scaffolding do they need?
Right. I mean, I have obviously my specific end of semester, the big project in mind, where I'm thinking there really isn't a scaffolding opportunity because it's about them being able, like becoming more, mm, developing this skill set. I'm trying to think of the right words that might fit into this tilt framework. Trying to develop the skill set of being able to pull out specific or pieces of a research article, like what question were they asking? Like they're answering that question, like that's built into the assignment. And that's a critical thinking exercise. And I'm like, oh, this is going to require some thought.
Yeah, certainly. So the framework does force you to go very granular, but I think there is a leeway for an instructor to go granular in the first few assignments, and then in the major project, maybe if you can like give a dry run feedback to them initially, so that they know that it doesn't come off as, and you might already be doing that, right? Like
Yeah, I have that built in.
Yeah. So I think that's the best practice, right? Right there, that you do provide feedback in as they do the dry run of the assignment, so that the end of the years or the end of the semester results don't come off as surprises. Okay, are there any other questions or thoughts? I think we are at the right time to move to doing some work with the framework. The framework, as you would remember now, had 3 components: purpose, task, and criteria. This is basically a checklist, which you cannot see. I'll send you the link so that you can see, and I'll distribute like all of us in pairs or groups. I think we can do pairs because we have equal numbers. So I would put you in pairs. What I want you to do is either pull one of your own assignments or from the folder that I would share with you in the chat, and use this checklist to assess the design of the assignment. So at this point, we are doing the work of instructor, right? So we are basically looking at the assignment and seeing what are the key elements missing from the way this assignment is designed. So let me share with you the assignment folder, but I hope you had very good conversations. We are now back to the group to think about like, what is one small change that you would make to improve the transparency of the assignments that you discussed in your own groups? If you could just voice your thoughts out with the group. Which assignment did you look at and what change would you make?
I'll go. I was talking to Amanda about a personal assignment I do where I have students draw a cell and label the different organelles within the cell. And just referring back to the SLOs of the course and letting the students know why they're doing this assignment and how it relates to the SLOs.
Yeah, that's a beautiful example that presented. Thank you. Crystal, do you want to voice out?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at the communications example. Funny enough, me and Jenny were both on the same team and we both teach communication. So there we saw a lot of missing pieces. We didn't have a clear purpose, but in terms of answering your question specifically, for us, a clear rubric is vital because it outlines the expectations that we have. I think it's a good way to be transparent, but also students would know exactly what areas they would need to work on. So it's more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's more intentional.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that reflection. Any other thoughts that you want to voice out after looking at the assignments? What did you really want to change?
I feel like I might need to change around some of the order of the information that I'm giving them to make it clearer. Definitely I think I probably do have a little bit of this, but the skills that they're developing, I think that I have it, but I think it could be more clearly stated. And maybe and it's later on in the assignment, maybe it needs to be higher up in the assignment or something.
Yeah. So I think the checklist serves as a reminder tool to have like these are the key things that are there that could be there in a transparent assignment. And you can choose as an instructor to see how do you want to adjust your own previous assignment to make it more transparent. And Jim Lang talks about like making one small impactful change, right? You don't have to reinvent the entire assignment. You might want to, maybe the assignment is crafted poorly, but you can also choose to make like small changes as you go and see if they can make the assignment more and more transparent. Um, with that thinking, I would move to the bot part of this. Let me share my screen. Do you see my screen clearly? Okay, so so now this bot can do a little bit of basic task, right? It can write your purpose for the assignment. It can write the tasks in the fashion that Tilt framework is asking you to write. It has been trained on the checklist. But here comes the caveat, okay? This Tilt bot was created by me, and I trained it on the data on Tilt framework to be used so that it can be fed on the particular scholarly data so that it can produce a good output. However, as we know that with any AI tool, we cannot just put the assignment in, get the output, and put it right across to the students, because that assignment might have errors, and it might lead, because you are still seen as expert, right? So it might lead to people thinking about what this instructor was thinking about while putting this assignment together, right? So you are still the owner of the assignment. You are still the main point person. So don't use the bot output as it is if you don't agree with it, because if you do that, you are still in charge of the assignment. If something goes off with it, like some derogatory statements could be there if you are teaching like topics which are a little bit too much on one side or the other, if you're teaching topics like critical race theory, etc., then your assignments might come off as very difficult to interpret or take one side more than the other. So you might want to take the ownership of the assignment before putting the assignment right out to the students. And that is not to say that you will not read. It's just a sign of caution. I know that you will all read, but it's just a sign of caution that some of the words you might not agree with. And the first output that TiltBot produces can make people go like, oh my God, this is interesting. And this is it, right? Like this is the magic. But don't be too surprised with it. Bring your critical hat, put your critical hat up, edit the assignment thoroughly before sharing it out with the students. With that caveat, I still want to show the magic that it does. So I'll just paste the link of this bot in the chat, and you can again go in the proofs, and if you want to copy this, because I know the chat disappears, if you want to copy this or open this in your browser, please do that. It's just bit.ly/tiltbot, and then use one of the assignments. You can copy and paste the assignment in the bot, and then think about, ask the bot to do what you wanted to do, right? Like, so ask the bot to write the purpose for you, ask the bot to type the criteria for you, ask the bot to write the task in a way that it is clear and transparent. Whichever one you want to pick, or the entire like framework, PTC, purpose, task, and criteria. You can experiment with it. And we'll see you in like next 7-ish minute. And I will let you go in the same groups if possible so that we can continue the conversations from then. Any immediate reactions first, and then we can, I saw some participants were struggling in starting the bot up and then feeding the assignment in, but any first reactions for those who were successful in putting the assignment?
So I dropped my my major assignment, the one that I've been thinking about this whole time, in there, and and just grabbed it from what I have posted in Canvas. And my only concern is that it's a really positive outcome. I like reviewed what it said for purpose, task, criteria for success, the transparent framework checklist. I think I did a good job, and like I read through it and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I wrote.
So
But
you said,
I
you
don't,
said,
but there's like there's no criticism or like, is this a good write-up? You know what I mean?
yeah, can you ask if there is one thing that I can improve, what would that be? Can you ask that bot another prompt and see if it
Okay.
puts out anything?
All
I
right, if
did
there's
that.
one.
When I use ChatGPT for stuff, I will do that now. Like, is there something I'm missing that the students need? Is there something I need to add? What would make this clear for the students? So I've started really doing that. And even in this, like they can either do a paper or creative project. And then I started, I didn't have that creative project part in my assignment. So I asked it to put it in there. And then I started going in and saying, okay, no, it needs to be more like this and giving it more directions.
And you may or may not take its advice, okay? You are the experts. So I think it just gives you an advice. Take it as an advice, and you may choose not to take it or take it. I think 70% of the time it gives good advice, and as far as I've tested it.
So I asked it if there was something I could improve, what would it be? And what it actually gave me was the advice I give my students about time management since it's a big project. So it's interesting. I really, this is actually quite lovely. Like I feel like if I used my process, my experience in teaching, and I was just writing out an assignment the way that I normally or historically would, right? I could put it in here and I could grab what it produces because it was exactly what I wrote, just organized differently. And I could paste that into Canvas and be done, like be good. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and maybe like as it is saying, one advice that it is giving you is to help students time manage. So maybe introducing a tool for time management. You might already have it, but just thinking aloud that you could put a tool for time management that, hey, also produce a time management worksheet where you initially goal set that these are the key goals that you'll do in this assignment, and how would you partition out the time, because sometimes students are also learning how to learn.
Yeah, no, I think this is it's pretty cool. I can see how it can still grow and it can still be improved and all of that stuff, but I think it's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts from any other assignments that you had tested on?
Hello. We
Hi.
uploaded the checklist and then it was by mistake because I thought I'm just uploading the example assignment, but it was good because I didn't have to do anything. I posted the checklist by mistake and then I was like, oh, that's wrong. Let me post the example. And then ChatGPT asked me, oh, do you want me to review for you based on the checklist? We just said yes, and then it reviewed the whole thing and it looks so much better. Yeah.
Okay. Can you show us how did you do that so that everybody is on the same page?
Yeah, I can share my screen. It's this one here. Yeah. So yeah, so by mistake, I uploaded the checklist and then I was like, oh, this is the checklist. So I uploaded the example and then it asked me, let me know if you want me to assist you to revise the assignment. We just said yes. And then we got this.
So what improvement did
Purpose.
it make, or what changes did it make?
Well, when we evaluated the assignment based on the criteria, like for the yes and no's, they were mostly no's. And then the yeses, we weren't like, it wasn't good enough, based on the criteria. So, but we didn't have the chance. Actually, we did not get the chance to review whatever ChatGPT provided for us. We had to come back to the main session. But yeah, it happened so fast.
Yeah, it is fast and it can be, deceiving as at sometimes, right? Like, so you have to take the ownership of the
Review.
assignment and review it, because it's, again, if you just copy and paste it into the canvas, just make sure it's you who is pasting it and your students know you. They don't know that it's bot produce output. Just as you don't want them to produce bot, like submit bot produce assignments, you also don't want to, and you might ask them to, create a bot of your own and ask them to use a bot to make time management checklist, right, for them as an initial draft, and that they can improve. But yeah, take the ownership. And I think that was the whole idea, that we can use these tools but very carefully. And if you want to be very transparent in sharing that, that I've used the bot to arrange this elements of this assignment, you can, but there are no like guidelines. Every institution is varying in the guidelines, so that I leave it up to Lori to guide you on if you want to write that line that this assignment was revised using ChatGPT TiltBot or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Thank
always
you.
share that with my students.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, does anyone else have anything they want to add?
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed this and thank you. And I'm hoping it's okay if we use your bot. And can I share your bot with other people who maybe, okay, and your handouts, are you okay if I share your
Yep.
hand? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I really enjoy this. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll be in touch with you. And I feel like this could really help, so yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank all of
Thank
you
you for
guys.
joining. Yeah.
Yeah, take that little survey I put in there like 20 times. Sign up for another workshop. I think I have like 26 planned. So it's like crazy. And everyone have a great day.
Bye-bye.